Welcome, everyone. My name is Katie Reedy, and on behalf of the U.S. Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team, FA-DART, thank you for joining us for the official launch of the new foreignassistance.gov. The U.S. Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team is a joint initiative of the Department of State and the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and oversees foreignassistance.gov. Before we get started, we wanted to offer a few housekeeping items. Live captioning is available via the multimedia viewer panel in WebEx. There will be time for questions at the end of the session. We'll be addressing both questions submitted ahead of the event, thank you for those, as well as those submitted in the chat function in WebEx if there is time. The event will be 1 hour long. Finally, I want to note this session is being recorded and is considered on the record. Today's agenda, we'll be hearing from Director Daphna Rand of the Office of Foreign Assistance and USAID Assistant Administrator Colleen Allen. Next, we'll see a demonstration of foreignassistance.gov. Then finally, we'll turn to the Q&A portion of the event. First, it's my pleasure to introduce both Director Rand and Assistant Administrator Allen. Dr. Daphna Rand is the Director of the Office of Foreign Assistance at the U.S. Department of State. Previously, she was the Vice President of Policy and Research at Mercy Corps from 2017 until 2021. Dr. Rand has a long career in public service. She previously served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, and as a member of the policy planning staff at the State Department. She also served on the staff of the National Security Council during the Obama administration. Director Rand is the former Deputy Director of Studies at the Center for a New American Security, CNES, and a former professional staff member of the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Colleen Allen is the Assistant Administrator for the Bureau for Management at USAID and is responsible for oversight and general management of several Bureau offices. She has over 20 years of experience in the public sector and is a member of the Senior Executive Service. Assistant Administrator Allen has served in key positions throughout USAID, including most recently as Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Bureau for Management, as a Business Development Officer in the Bureau for Europe and New Independent States, the former Global Bureau, as Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Policy Advisor in the Office of the Administrator, as Chief of the Policy Division, Deputy Director, and as the Director in the Office of Management Policy, Budget, and Performance. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I would now like to hand the virtual mic over to Director Daphna Rand, Dr. Daphna Rand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie, and thank you for the team at USAID and State who made this day possible. I know a lot of work has gone into today, and I just really want to start by thanking all of you who've been working through the technical issues for today's launch. Really, the work we're very grateful. And hello to all of you. Thank you to our attendees who are coming to us from all over the world. Many of you work on the foreign assistance programs in the field, whether through implementing organizations and partners or through the USG itself. Some of you are here in Washington in the United States and have been long watching the US government's progress on foreign aid transparency. And so I want to welcome you today to what is pretty much a historic moment as far as I can remember. I worked on the Obama National Security Council in the first term of the Obama administration when some of these ideas were just being thrown around to commit the United States to greater transparency in our foreign assistance. So it is a real honor and privilege to be here with all of you today for this launch. And I want to thank, in particular, Colleen Allen, who is our assistant administrator, and her team at the M Bureau at USAID for all your work over these years to make this happen. Some of you may remember what came before 15 years ago and remember why the initiative and the movement to create a place for U.S. foreign assistance data to be seen transparently and openly is so important. You remember foreignassistance.gov, Foreign Aid Explorer, and the legacy websites that manage the foreign assistance, and you knew how frustrating it was to have to navigate multiple sources. Today, we are launching a new consolidated foreignassistance.gov and it's a product of the Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team, what we call fondly FA DART. And is a joint initiative between state and USAID. And together we will continue to oversee the data, ensure accuracy, to maintain the data website, and to continuously work to improve this website. We are committed here at the State Department on behalf of the Secretary of State and the Administrator to ensure that the public has access to one authoritative source on U.S. foreign assistance to know what are we funding and where and over time what. That is our mission, and that is why we're launching this foreignassistance.gov today. The joint team worked together to develop and execute a three-phased consolidation solution and to harmonize our data, to reduce the duplication, and to leverage the best features of the predecessor legacy websites. So to remind folks, phase one began in spring 2020, so a year and a half ago, with joint information launch across the sites and bringing in stakeholders and consulting. In phase two, our teams established a joint governance structure around data reconciliation to ensure that we weren't duplicating each other's efforts. And we conducted, importantly, a survey of the users to get feedback from all of you and those around the world who are using this data. This is phase three. This is the formal launch of foreignassistance.gov. And here we have it. We have the outcome we have long sought. One single authoritative source for all U.S. foreign assistance data that is agency validated, that is high quality, it is timely, and will fulfill our international requirements for transparency. We are really proud of this work. It has been difficult, and we're really proud of this achievement. This process of consolidating the two websites was undertaken really thoughtfully to fulfill the key mandates that we heard from you, the users, that we heard through our survey, and that we identified. And I know that our Assistant Administrator, Alan, will outline some of these governing mandates in a few minutes. But I want to go back to when I was at the NSC over a decade ago, OMB Bulletin 1201, something I remember clearing on at the Obama White House at the NSC, gave an outlined guidance around the U.S. foreign assistance reporting and announced that it would be in the interest of the United States in our national security and our commitment to foreign aid to improve our governance of our foreign assistance efforts and promote our transparency. We are working together in a presumption in favor of openness. That is our spirit, that is our mandate, that is our commitment to all of you. When in doubt, we are trying to be as transparent and presume as much openness as possible. We are also committed to the Foreign Aid Transparency and Accountability Act of 2016. I know a lot of the people on this call were part of that congressional action, which we call FATA, here FATAA. And this congressional action smartly called for this single website and has been really the impetus for today's launch. And it also called for a better evaluation of strategy and a consolidation of budget and evaluation documents that gave important context for the whole foreign assistance lifestyle. And here at AF, we're watching the whole foreign assistance lifestyle, not just the budget request, but also how the money is spent once appropriated, how we respond back to Congress, how the operating units are functioning, and then how we are performing. Let's not forget that part of the life cycle of foreign assistance. We are very committed to impact as well. So meanwhile, we are continuing to make U.S. foreign assistance data available and accessible to meet international standards. And we will continue to publish our data via the IATI registry, the IATI, International Aid Transparency Initiative Registry. And we look forward to working with foreignassistance.gov really as the single platform to share ideas, to learn from each other, to evaluate. And we're really eager to hear from you. I know many academics and analysts will use our data and are using our data to answer key questions. Just an open invitation to all of you who are using this data. Please send us back feedback. Tell us what you're learning. That is an important part of this, is the cycle of feedback as folks use this open data. Anyway, I want to conclude by just offering a main point here from the State Department, which is that foreign assistance transparency is not just a check the box exercise that we're doing because Congress is making us, or because that OMB bulletin so many years ago told us that we have to do it. It is not an end unto itself. It is a means to a larger end, which is ensuring that our foreign assistance is achieving its impact at a global scale and in constantly improving to reach the people we're trying to help. We are asking you, we are relying on you, this community that has stood by us and pushed us constructively for 10 years to help us continue to learn about impact, about how we're shaping the people whose lives we're seeking to change, how we are achieving our US goals and our foreign assistance, and ultimately how we are bringing a return on the investment to the American taxpayer, and providing accountability for these programs that we care so much about. Foreignassistance.gov will play a role. It will be a means to achieve this end of improving foreign assistance. And we are really looking forward to partnering with all of you in this endeavor in the coming years. So thank you in advance to the students and educators who use and will use foreignassistance.gov as a learning tool. Thank you to the researchers who across a range of fields will use this data to make us smarter, to make us more efficient, and to improve our efficacy and strategy. We are a learning organization and institution in F at the State Department at USAID, and we want to do better. And thanks, I want to give a special shout out and a special thank you to the 20 interagency partners. This was obviously not just a USAID and state effort. And from the beginning and those early NSC days, it was clear to us that we would need buy-in and support from so many different government agencies. 20 US government agencies have submitted their data to make foreignassistance.gov comprehensive. And we would absolutely not be here today if not for that support. And the reporting team has worked across and with these 20 agencies. This is a joint success. This is a joint endeavor. We are celebrating here in F in the Office of the Director of Foreign Assistance. We are celebrating today in the State Department and USAID. We are launching this foreignassistance.gov with great hope that it will be a tool to achieve more and to continuously improve both our transparency and our accountability, and most importantly, how much we can use this foreign assistance to do better and do good in the world. So thank you. We look forward to working with you, and congratulations to this community for achieving this accomplishment. And next, I want to turn it over to my friend and my good colleague, our Assistant Administrator, Colleen Allen, who has led her team through this, has worked with us in F, and is such an excellent leader of the Management Bureau at USAID. Colleen, over to you with huge congratulations to you and your team.
Thanks so much, Daphne. I am really excited to join you today in today's launch. It really is a huge milestone for us and for all that have been working with us towards this goal. The partnership has been just fabulous and couldn't have asked for a better partner to achieve what we're celebrating today. And I'm so delighted to celebrate with you all today the launch of the new foreignassistance.gov, which represents the long-awaited consolidation of the legacy foreignassistance.gov and Foreign Aid Explorer website. Daphne mentioned that OMB bulletin long ago. I too remember that, and so this is really a momentous occasion for me to see this come to fruition. As Director Rand mentioned, since for many years, USAID's Foreign Aid Explorer website and State Department's foreignassistance.gov website have existed in parallel, each carrying their own mandates. While these sites focused on different aspects of foreign assistance, we recognize that this caused confusion at times for you and our users. With that in mind, we made a joint commitment to consolidate both sites. We believe that this consolidation will better serve you, and this is really what it's about, and the broader public, while strategically improving and advancing U.S. foreign assistance objectives. While we're pleased that we've addressed the tactical need to consolidate, this launch really marks something that is really bigger than just streamlining of two websites. This consolidation is reflective of the Department of State and USAID's joint commitment to high quality, accurate, and thorough foreign assistance reporting, because that's really important to us, but is particularly important to you. We are one team As Dr. Rand mentioned, we've been working on this hard. Our teams have been working on this hard, and we really thank them for all of their dedication and commitment to this effort. It is a one-team effort committed to transparency and accuracy of foreign assistance programs, because we recognize that information about how much we spend, where we spend it, and when we spend it should be easy to access, use, and understand. And so in addition to greater foreign assistance transparency, this new website will help recipient governments to manage their aid flows more strategically. It fosters ongoing demand for transparency, both locally and internationally, and empowers citizens to hold governments accountable for how assistance is used, and increases the efficacy of development and humanitarian investments by providing a clearer understanding of what we are doing, where we're doing it, and to what effect. As many of you may have already seen, data on U.S. foreign assistance is available on foreignassistance.gov as far back as 1945. This historic data are reported by USAID's predecessor agencies. So while the dynamic and interactive visualizations you'll see on today's site may seem like a modern development, they are the product of a long history of gathering, sharing, and analyzing foreign assistance data to improve our programs worldwide. Since the early 2000s, the international community, as well as the U.S. government, has increasingly focused on ensuring open and transparent reporting of foreign assistance data. And today, foreignassistance.gov includes data from more than 20 different U.S. government agencies, and that in itself is something to be celebrated. And these agencies fund and manage foreign assistance programs, improving the lives and well-being of underserved and in-need populations in more than 150 countries around the world. So we jointly can be proud of what is being accomplished today. This year, USAID is celebrating our 60th anniversary. I hope many of you heard the administrator's vision and her speech that was given. And we have had a global impact over the past 6 decades, improving access to better health, education, and economic prosperity. In large part, this impact is thanks to an unrelenting focus on data and evidence to help us pinpoint areas of greatest need and prioritize placement of valuable U.S. government resources. It is really exciting to be able to share more of this data with you today by the demonstration that will be shown of the new foreignassistance.gov. And I hope you'll find it to be as intuitive and user-friendly as we've intended it to be. It's all the result of the hard work of our talented FA DART team, our colleagues in the Office of Foreign Assistance at the Department of State, with their deep knowledge and understanding of foreign policy, foreign assistance budgets, and the broader international affairs community, our colleagues in USAID's Bureau for Policy Planning and Learning, with their in-depth knowledge of global data transparency commitments and specific funding agencies, and then USAID's Bureau for Management, with its robust data science and analytics talent, coupled with an in-depth understanding of USAID's policy and performance priorities. Leveraging rich knowledge of the data, along with modern analytics and technology, means we can provide you with not just a static website, but a dynamic data visualization experience, complete with detailed metrics and dynamic filtering, a focus on mapping and geospatial visualization, and animated foreign assistance trends that span decades. But we know our users aren't just passive consumers of data and analytics. Our users want to be able to query the raw data directly for their use in their own applications and visualizations. The availability of an application programming interface or API make that possible. And so someone threw that in for me to say. Honestly, just trying to impress you by saying application programming interface, but that's as technical as I'll ever get for now. We have a great demonstration lined up for you with even more technical detail to unpack. We've also asked our subject matter experts to chime in later on to assist with any questions that you might have. So with that, I'll turn it back to our facilitator. And thanks again so much for joining us and this wonderful celebration of the launch of the website.
Thank you so much, Director Rand and Assistant Administrator Allen, for your remarks today and your presence at this launch. We will now turn to a demonstration of the new website, foreignassistance.gov, for a chance to see how some of the features and data set, or how to see some of the features and data sets in action. For that, I'd like to now turn it over to my U.S. Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team colleagues, Nolan Levitt and Julie Warner. Nolan, over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nolan Levitt. I'm a senior data analyst at the State Department, and I'm also part of the U.S. Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team, as has been mentioned. That team is a joint State Department and USAID team that manages foreignassistance.gov. My colleague Julie Warner and I are going to walk you through a demo of the new consolidated website, which is on the screen. If you have any questions, please do feel free to type them into the chat, and we'll try to address them at the end. Foreignassistance.gov is the U.S. government's platform to advance the transparency, accessibility, accountability of U.S. foreign assistance data. By publishing U.S. foreign assistance data that is accurate and timely, Foreignassistance.gov presents a multi-dimensional picture of the U.S. foreign assistance life cycle in a highly visual and interactive website. The site visualizes U.S. foreign assistance data from over 20 U.S. government agencies that fund or implement foreign assistance programs and activities. The data is reported and verified by each U.S. government agency to ensure its comprehensiveness and its accuracy prior to publication on the site. You can use the site's pages to disaggregate U.S. foreign assistance data by U.S. agency, by country, sector, and also by year. The site also provides U.S. government reports to Congress on overseas loans and grants, and these are often also known as the Green Book. It also provides the annual U.S. report to the Development Assistance Committee at the OECD, including official development assistance and other official flows. Today, we'll walk you through the key changes that occurred during the transition process as we consolidated, rebranded, and launched the new website, foreignassistance.gov. For that, I'll turn you over to my colleague, Julie.
Hello, my name is Julie Warner. I'm a data scientist at USAID, and similar to Nolan, also part of the U.S. Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team. This is the home page, the dashboard of foreignassistance.gov. And here you can see data by country, sector, U.S. government agency, and users can toggle between fiscal years. You can also toggle between the funding phase, such as budget requests and appropriations, obligations, disbursements. Finally, users can get more information on specific activities. You can click one activity here to see the modal appear with an activity summary and related activity documents when they're available. We want both domestic and international users to be able to use the site for their respective use cases. And so to that end, we've added this sector toggle. As the flagship U.S. government website for foreign assistance, the site defaults to the U.S. government sectors, but by clicking international, The site changes the sectors to internationally recognized sectors such as the OECD DAC sectors. Also note that the site displays these information icons, and they contain definitions and helpful information for you, our users. One of the most interesting features of this site is it allows users to view U.S. foreign assistance trends over time. For example, if we want to see what was happening since 1980, we can click a particular year and see where foreign assistance was provided in that year. Or I can click play and watch how the assistance changes each year. ForeignAssistance.gov also enables users to view data by country or by agency by way of specific pages. Here on the country page, I select a country and I'm taken to that country page. On the left, I can see more information about the country through third-party statistics. I can hover over each statistic to learn about this information. I can also toggle between agencies. I can toggle between fiscal years. And I can toggle between obligations and disbursements. As you can see, this enables users to view the top partners, activities, and sectors for USAID's disbursements in Tanzania in 2020. Scrolling down further, the tree map of international sectors appears. This enables users to drill down into sectors to learn more about those sectors in the country, and allows us to highlight the more granular reporting of the international sectors. This Sankey chart visualizes the flow of funds from funding agencies to managing agencies based on the filters that you can choose above. And users can see how funding moves between the US agencies that are implementing foreign assistance. Users can also search this activity table, and it shows more information about activities in Tanzania here. Users can search the table to find data that may be of interest. For example, if I wanted to better understand what the US was doing related to education in Tanzania, I could type education into the search bar here and see more about those specific activities. The by agency page is quite similar to the features of the by country page, but it enables users to slice data. You can slice by US foreign assistance agency rather than by country. For example, if I want to see what the Millennium Challenge Corporation dispersed in the fiscal year 2020, I could set the filters at the top. This map shows where the disbursements went. Like on the country page, users can learn more about the sectors where funding was dispersed here. The top activities, partners, and sectors where MCC dispersed funding in 2020. And an activity table with more information about activities. Now back to Nolan to walk you through the remaining features.
Thank you, Julie. Here, we're going to navigate to the Reports tab of the website. And here, users can find multiple reports and prepared files. However, our favorite way to use this information is to use the Data page, which we're going to navigate to here. This is particularly helpful for power users who can navigate the data in Excel, and they want to have access to this information for custom research. Advanced users can link to this data through an API, as previously mentioned as well. The landing page for this tab also provides users with options to download prepared files and reports that we know many of our users may want. Okay, on the Query tab, you can query information to create a file of exactly what information you need, download it into Excel for ease of use. For example, if I want to learn about USAID activities implemented by the United Nations Children's Fund in Ghana, I can select those filters like we're doing here in the Edit filter box and see the data that I need. Okay, I can also add column functionality to display additional fields. I'll pause here while we make these selections. Okay. Once I've developed my query, I can toggle between obligations, disbursements, and budget data in the dropdown shown here. I can also add columns to the data that's already visualized on the tab. And if I want to download the information, I can download everything selected in the filters and query into an CSV format file. Okay, now over to the About tab. On this page, we have more information about the site, including information about U.S. foreign assistance, the methodology we use to create the site and the reports, FAQs, and a glossary. Now I want to draw your attention to the Status tab for a moment, as we find this tab particularly helpful to many users. Note that the data is not complete for all agencies at the same time. If you're looking for a recent fiscal year of data, double check this tab to ensure you're viewing a complete year's worth of data. Finally, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact our FA DART team. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Katie for the Q&A portion of our demo.
Thank you so much, Nolan and Julie, for that wonderful demo. So we're now going to go into the Q&A. First, we received quite a few questions in advance of this event via our registration form. So thank you for those. We'll start with those questions. Then if there is time, we'll turn to questions from the chat, potentially. Thank you. I see some of those are coming in now. So let's start with our pre-submitted questions, and we'll see how it goes. So the first question I'd like to ask is, what is the source of the data, and how many U.S. government agencies are contributing data to the site? Or what are the plans to update the data? Thank you.
Happy to take this one. Over 20 U.S. government agencies actually, and our interagency reporting partners to submit their data on the U.S. foreign assistance programs and activities. And it comes from their agency financial and programmatic systems. And it's submitted to the Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team, or FA DART, on a quarterly basis. And the FA DART team then conducts a quality review of the data, and the agency approved data is then published to foreignassistance.gov. The reporting cycle is going to continue moving forward in that way. And you can actually see foreignassistance.gov has a list of each of those agencies.
Thank you so much. We will now go to another question that we received ahead of time, which was, will you continue to publish budget data? And if so, when will it be? Well, when will the budget data be released each year? Thank you. I'll go to Nolan for that one.
Okay. Yeah, we have an answer for that. Yes, we do plan on continuing to publish and will continue to publish our foreign assistance budget data. The timing and publication for each of these data sets is going to align with the general US government funding cycle of fiscal years. So agencies will continue to report their data once they've completed their congressional budget justifications each year. And then they'll also provide appropriations data once they receive their annual appropriations from Congress. And as many of you are aware, that cycle shifts slightly from year to year depending on how Congress is working. If applicable, we will report these funds by categories and countries as well if there's more detail available at an agency level. So we will continue to publish that. Over.
Thank you very much. We have another question that we received in the registration form. Again, thank you so much to folks who took us up on that offer. We really appreciate it. It helped us tailor our remarks and the demo today. So this next question, I'll go to Julie. Now that consolidation has occurred, what are some improvements planned for the future?
Yes, the Foreign Assistance Data and Reporting Team, or FADART, is striving to continuously improve foreignassistance.gov. And to that end, we are considering user and stakeholder feedback. And that's what we're going to use to inform our improvements. And we hosted a user survey on the legacy websites earlier this year. And through that, we invited our stakeholders to share ideas on website improvements that they had and different priority features that they would like to see. And FADART used those data to inform the features that you saw today in the new consolidated website. And so we really appreciate your feedback and ideas. And we're going to keep engaging you. And we're going to do that to better understand what your needs are. And that's going to help inform that continuous improvement process. We want to enhance the user experience. And at the same time, we're going to plan to work really closely with our interagency partners. They're the data owners, and that will help us to continue to elevate the quality, the granularity, and ultimately the usability of the data.
Fantastic. Thank you. Another submitted question. Access to data via API, which Assistant Administrator Allen, like myself, also don't have the technical skills to really understand that, but will it be added for data extraction? That's that. Thank you.
Yes, foreignassistance.gov does allow for the ability to query raw data directly via an API, and all foreign assistance data since 1946 is actually available through an API. And using that, you can leverage the data in your own applications and visualizations. It's really useful for extracting large amounts of data. All you need is some experience with programming, like constructing a URL or web method calls and HTTP requests.
Great. Thank you so much. I will go to another question for now that was pre-submitted. I'll stick with Julie for this one, could you share more about the development landscape tool?
Sure. So along with reporting to Congress and the OECD, USAID and the USG also report foreign assistance to the International Aid Transparency Initiative, or EADI. And EADI is published in a machine-readable format, and that makes it kind of difficult for average users to find and use the information. So to address that problem and enable staff to use these data for planning and decision-making, back in 2019, USAID created the Development Cooperation Landscape Tool, and the objective there was to enable staff to analyze and view what other development actors are doing in a particular country. So although the tool was designed originally for USAID staff to use, especially those that were working out in the field, it's a public resource. All EADI data is public. We wanted to identify areas of alignment, and that would help us to consider how to better leverage resources from our partners. It would reduce duplication and better understand partner priorities, support CDCS development, and to comprehensively be able to map what other organizations are doing in countries by sector, by location, by activity as well. And this landscape tool has a home on foreignassistance.gov, but it's separate from the FA DART, given that the data doesn't come from the same database. So I hope that's clear.
Yes, thank you. We will do, under the question, I'll go to Nolan for this one. This was pre-submitted. Are there historical revisions to data?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. And before I jump into my answer, if you're putting questions into the chat box, just remember that other people and participants might not know all the acronyms for your specific area of specialty. So please try to spell out acronyms so that the widest possible audience can understand your question. Thank you. And then I'll answer your questions. Are there historical revisions to data? And yes, there are. And there will probably continue to be historical revisions to data. The timeliness in reporting varies by agency and program. For example, food and military assistance historically has a longer lag time in reporting and therefore is often subject to revision after the fact. As with most time series data sets, historical revisions are a necessary part of the process, and they improve the accuracy and consistency of our overall data. Additionally, when a methodology change occurs, the new methodology is applied to historical data, if at all possible. Finally, at times, an agency requires a historical restate or a resubmission of data due to system changes or other agency-specific factors. So the data set will continue to be a live data set. I hope that answers that question. Back to you, Katie.
Great. We have another pre-submitted question through the registration portal. So this would be, what is the verification process for data established on foreignassistance.gov? Thanks.
Sure, I can take this one. The data are reported to FA DART by all of the U.S. government agencies, departments, and offices that receive foreign assistance funds, or any that undertake foreign assistance activities. So in order to fulfill all congressional and international reporting requirements, we have to convert our data and store it in a common format. So our team first will standardize the information from disparate internal financial and project management systems. And we'll do that by, say, country or region, agency, funding account, sub-agency or office, sector, or implementing partner. And our team then converts each of those entities into a set of common IDs and names them and stores them in a data warehouse. And while processing the data received from U.S. government agency submitters, what we'll check for are things like the reported financial flows, obligations, and disbursements. And we'll check those against the agency's foreign assistance amounts from previous years. Typically, we'll check the figures, and this allows us to ensure there's no duplicates. Sometimes we'll have duplication in the submissions, and that no records are missing any of the required values. A little bit of data cleaning. We'll check the figures against the federal budget and the monthly treasury statements. Something else we'll check is the transactions. And we do that to ensure that there's consistent reporting where alternative sources of obligation and disbursement amounts are available. For instances where there might be double counting in the case of funds transferred from one agency to another, that's something we'll look for. I think it's important to note that the agencies are the data owners for their submitted data. They have the responsibility for the accuracy, the quality assurance steps that we take, the FA DART team. That's an additional step, But ultimately, the responsibility rests with the data owners. We just want to make sure we're bringing you the most high quality data that we can